Tarantulas is coming, and something's chasing him.
Tarantulas is coming! Avast, ye matey!
Yarr!
Too much Energon.
What is up, Maximals and Pred heads? This is another episode of Too Much Energon, where two 90s kids review a 90s cartoon, an animated cartoon called Beast Wars. This week, we are reviewing episode 20, Spider's Game, which was episode 18 in air date, which made some complications, as we will discuss. I am one of your hosts, NeoCal.
And I am one of your other hosts, Christopher Siege.
Christopher, this came out shortly after your 12th birthday.
Yep, it originally aired in the US on January 6th, 1997, which was 3 days after my 12th birthday.
97. What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. And 12, watching Beast Wars.
You were chilling out in your cargo pants, drinking a Capri Sun or whatever they were called.
Eating
you had a basketball.
Dunkaroos.
Eating Dunkaroos.
Dunkaroos.
You probably had a basketball even though you didn't play. Lots of 90s things.
Sure did.
Had
a bike I didn't ride, you know. Had Sega Channel.
Sega Channel. We just briefly talked about that in the preamble. Oh, yeah. Sega Channel.
Yeah, if you want to hear us, if you want to hear us talk about that a little bit, let's this week's outtake.
It's preceded by 40 minutes of us talking about local restaurants. You're welcome.
Yeah, your mileage may vary, you know.
So Spider's Game. Would you like to tell me a story about why the production order and the air date made some confusion for young Christopher?
So,
you have a good memory for this.
The following episode, Call of the Wild, which I won't talk about too much until the next podcast, obviously.
It's a gem.
The next episode, Call of the Wild, actually aired in Canada on YTV before this episode.
Mm-hmm.
This episode, which introduces the character of Inferno. Call of the Wild, which features the character Inferno. Not a lot, but he's in a couple of shots. So, 12-year-old Christopher, watching Call of the Wild, on its original air date on YTV, was like, holy crap, who is that flying ant guy?
Yes.
So
it would have been cool to know how he was introduced to the show.
Yeah. So yeah. Production order is important, kids.
Yeah, so anybody like watching this on Tubi, like alongside us, or has like the copies, DVD copies or CD copies, production order is important. Even my download, it's not in production order. And so like I actually watched this weeks ago and I was like, wait a second.
Wait a cycle.
Wait a sec. Yeah. And yeah, from here on out it kind of like fixes itself. No, not really.
Beginning with episode 22,
okay.
the production order and broadcast order end up
yeah, I can see that
up.
now. Yeah.
So in a few weeks here, life will become a lot easier for us.
All right. Yep. So
we're in space.
We're in space. I always love a space episode, and we see many maximal stasis pods in perfect alignment orbiting around the planet. Like way too perfect. Like they're even facing the same way.
Yep, this is another another Stasis Pod episode. Which
Which are our favorite.
okay, so watching this as a kid back in 96, 97, Stasis Pod episodes were like the hypest shit because it was like, holy crap, who's the new guy gonna be?
Yeah.
This is gonna be rad, man. This is gonna be rad. This is gonna be alphanumeric.
I want more toys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now, watching the show as an adult, I'm like, can we just focus on the characters we have? We already have a pretty strong cast. Like, I just want to know more about them. I don't know. This is the 4th Stasis Pod episode.
That's a really old man thing to say of you, Christopher. It's almost like you don't want to buy more toys.
Well, yes, and that's the thing is Hasbro needs to sell more Beast Wars toys. So we got to keep introducing new characters, and Hasbro needing to sell more Beast Wars toys will become very apparent in the 2nd season. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. So interesting. One of the maybe this is up for debate. It looks like one of the stasis pods that's in orbit, like actively, as in like it's doing it on purpose, leaves that stable orbit with all the rest of them. Apparently, there are so many they form a perfect ring around the Earth. Actually, no, they were all released in unison, right? So it makes sense that they're all kind of next to each other. If they were dropped, and they have, and as we see here, they do have small little rockets on them.
Yep.
So it does kind of make sense that they put themselves in a stable orbit. But this one looks like it's like piloted. It leaves the orbit and goes to the planet.
And it does this very awkward turn.
Yeah, super awkward turn. Here's what I'm asking you. I thought that actually no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say the stasis pod, like it breaks formation from the others, and then does this awkward like stop, and then alters course, and then resumes heading toward the planet.
So I feel like and now that I'm rewatching it, it seems obvious, but I thought it had just like fallen out of orbit like the others, right? Remember, it's always shown them like getting hit by space debris or a small like meteorite or meteoroid or something like that.
Yep.
Right? This one does not get hit by anything, and then when we cut to Tarantulas on his like computer, he's like cackling like in glee. And I was like, no, he just happened to predict its falling path. It seems like
he's controlling it. Maybe.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even good catch. I didn't even pick up on this.
She caught that. And I was like, wait, no. We'll talk about it when Christopher and I talk about the episode.
No, I think she's onto something. Props.
She is onto something. And I think it's obvious now, rewatching the first like 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Like he somehow hijacked one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it shows him on the computer, oddly, he's in his spider form, and thinking about it, he'd be able to type better in his spider form. Because he just has those big claws when he's in his robot form.
Yeah, and the buttons on his computer console here are pretty damn big. So
yeah, they're huge. So he probably made it for himself to be for himself as a spider.
Yeah,
which is entertaining to think about. But man, I can't believe I thought he just like predicted where it was or like beat everybody to it. No, he totally like pulled it out of orbit.
Yeah. Now it seems really obvious now, but like, yeah, I didn't even occur.
And yeah, it shows Tarantulas looking around. He has 9. I've said this like way, like months ago. He has 9 eyes, and it bothers me. And they're not compound eyes either. they're like almost like lizard eyes.
Yeah, and he uses all 9 of these eyes to notice that a little EMP satellite dish thing that he's made is coming online.
Yeah, I don't remember what he calls it, but basically this really cool looking dish comes out of the ground. He cackles and he activates it.
He calls it a Magna Pulse.
Oh, okay, so he's sending an EMP pulse to both bases.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically he is wiping out both the Axelon and the Dark Side. Completely wiping out both of the base's power.
I like how they shoot in a straight line.
As most electromagnetic pulses, they shoot in a complete straight line, which also means that that device is positioned in such a way that it has line of sight between both bases.
Except if you look at the video, there is there's a shot with the Magna Pulse laser thing, the one that's heading toward the Predacon base. If you look at the dish on the other side, the side that's going toward the maximal base, there's a mountain in the way.
Oh. yes, there is. There is.
So much for line of sight.
That's like 1 out of like 11 things this episode that we'll just move on. We cut to the Dark Side, and Scorponok hilariously loses power in his terror board. And kind of looks down, looks up at the camera, looks down, looks up at the camera, and gasps as he thuds to the ground. But he's 4 feet off the ground, which I find is really funny. They can be standing, they just choose to use the terror boards.
Yep.
And it's to prove this, Megatron notices Scorponok land right on his head, and Megatron just bends his knees and lands just fine.
Before Scorponok falls, the lights go out in the Dark Side, and both Scorponok and Megatron's computer panels short out and go dark.
Oh, everything's wiped out, right?
Yeah, everything's wiped out, and Megatron lets out this really angry, guttural what?
Oh, I forgot about that. I need to go back and turn the sound on. Here we go.
Yeah, it's
What?
What?
It's good.
Yeah, it I actually laughed out. Every couple of episodes there's always at least one thing that will make me, as I'm sitting in my living room watching this show, there's always at least one or two thing in every couple episodes that will actually just make me laugh out loud. And in this episode, it was this.
It's this and Reboot. Every Reboot, there's something that makes me snort laugh at least once, even if I don't really like the episode. Same thing with this.
Yeah.
There's even in really bad episodes, there's very redeemable snippets. There's 2 people that say "what" in this episode, and I'll point out the other one when we get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, a Magna Pulse wiped out our base and most likely the Preds.
Yeah, and Megatron speculates that this must be a maximal sneak attack, and immediately I'm like, since when has that been the maximal style?
When have they ever? Well, besides Optimus, Jason Voorhees, when has that ever happened?
Yeah,
They've either counter. Well, Rat Trap infiltrated, Cheetor infiltrated. But those were kind of forced on them.
and those were those weren't even originally intended to be attacks. Those were that was espionage. That was espionage. Yeah.
Yeah. Only only Optimus has been a straight up attack, as well as when they retrieved Dark Rhinobot.
The Maximals never proactively attack unless they have a reason to. Like,
Yes.
they need to be going in to save someone, or
if the Preds just left the Maximals alone and did their own thing, I actually think they would be better off.
Yeah,
like the Predacons.
There'd be no war.
I mean, they'd be able to do their science. They'd be able to repair their ship.
Yeah,
right? Because to what end is destroying the Maximals worth it if you can't get off the planet?
Yeah.
And they addressed that when they tried to hijack the planet. Hijack the Axelon. I was like, oh, you don't need to win the Beast Wars. You win the Beast Wars by leaving the planet.
Yeah.
And I feel like they forget that like every other episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And win the Beast Wars once and for all.
So we're at the Axelon now, and their power's out too. But Rhinox knows this was caused by a Magnapulse. And
yeah, he says so.
He says so, and he's all like, "Oh, must be the Preds." Those damn varmints. Optimus, get me a beer. Which, I mean, that is on brand for the Predacons. So Rhinox being all like, "Oh, must be the Preds," like, that makes sense.
Yep. They've literally done things like that multiple times on the show. Optimus goes, "Okay, I'll fly out and get the others," because see, there's an advantage to like having a tight ship, or at least Megatron tries to have a tight ship, and like knowing where everyone is, because the Maximals just kind of like chill and do their own thing. Like at any given time, Cheetor is just running out in the savannah. Tigerbot is never ever anywhere within like communication range. And I assume Air Razor's just flying around like living her best bird mom life. And
I think she does live at the base though, because of a comment that she makes later on.
Yeah, I think she does like live there, but like Cheetor or presumably Dinobot, they like being like out.
Yeah. They're not homebodies like Rhinox and Rat Trap.
And Rat Trap, yeah. And presumably Optimus. Well, Optimus is the glue. He's probably flying back and forth.
Yeah.
So we cut back to a disgusting spider tapping away. And the sexy, I just realized the like metallic skin on his computer, like where the buttons and those levers are, kind of looks like Megatron's dinosaur skin.
Oh yeah.
What the heck?
It's probably a reused texture.
Look at that. Yeah. I was like, that looks like actually exactly like the Tyrannosaurus skin. Anyways, a bunch of monitors are up. He was probably PC gaming earlier, and it has trajectory and stasis pod. One of them is just static. One of them is of a spider, which is funny. Like, it's kind of like that's his monitor up that he had for porn. Speaking of spider porn,
I was gonna say it kind of makes sense, like given what his plan is in this episode.
I'm so glad it doesn't work.
Yeah, me too.
Like
me too.
Yeah, because like converting like Black Arachnia totally worked out for him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
she because she totally hates him, except not all of a sudden.
Here's the thing. We know as viewers, or at least I this is what I presume. We know by now that Black Arachnia is like manipulative. She pretends to be nice and go along with people's plans, but she'll bail as soon as it doesn't benefit her. or loosely stay like connected. She's good at making connections and trying to keep her options open, right?
Yeah.
But Tarantulas is not like, he goes along because he could use the hand, but he's like obviously doesn't trust like 100% trust Black Arachnia. So I don't think it's just that, oh, now she's nice. I think that by now we figured out that she's a smooth talker, and even Tarantulas is smart enough now to allowed her to like quote help end quote if it benefits him.
Yeah, I suppose, because she kind of did the same thing with Starscream last week.
Absolutely, yeah. So
Although
she keeps
it
her.
was a lot less flirtatious on her part.
Well, she knows why she was made, right? Like she
Fair,
knows
yeah.
like this disgusting nerd was trying to make himself a spider girlfriend, right?
I guess Tarantulas is like I get some incel vibes from him.
And she's using that to her advantage. Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but that's kind of the gist. Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of Black Arachnia, she found his lair, which makes like what, like 3 Maximals and 2. No, it's just Black Arachnia, Cheetor, and Rat Trap that have been in Tarantulas' lair.
Yeah.
Is
His
it
lair,
fog?
which we actually haven't seen for quite a while. So much
I
so
just,
that I kind of forgot about it, honestly.
oh, I didn't, because it's briefly shown him in it before. But is there like a purple fog or water in his? Is it? It's fog. It's like a
That's what it looks
layer
like.
of fog,
Yeah.
or like a laser, like a fog, like electro layer or something. Huh, it's cool. That wasn't there
Uh,
before.
I think I think it's just supposed to be like mist.
Cool fog. Cool
Yeah.
purple mist. Name of his first album, Purple Mist.
I'd listen to that.
Arachnid metal. Wonder what that would sound like.
No, see, uh, I don't know. Actually, one of my favorite metal albums of all time is called "In the Constellation of the Black Widow,"
Oh, well, there you go. It's possible.
which is ironic because I hate spiders, but
That's a good name.
it is a fantastic album. It is by a band named Anal Nathrak,
Okay.
which
Anol Nathrak. That
An-
sounds like an arachnid name.
well, Anal Nathrak is actually from the movie Excalibur.
I don't remember.
Anal Nathrak was the chant that Merlin does at the beginning of the movie to uh, uh, to change the form of the king so he could like go and impregnate that queen.
Okay, so that's simultaneously the most metal and the nerdiest fucking shit I've ever heard of.
Right? It's
Because
absolutely
that is really cool and really metal, but that is so fucking nerdy.
yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's yeah. Anal Nathrak in the Constellation of the Black Widow. Listeners, if you like metal, check it out.
There
Bear
you
in
go.
mind, though, this is very extreme metal.
Extreme metal.
This is like extreme, like psychotic black metal.
Well, there you go.
It's one of the most intense albums I've ever heard.
You know what? If you ever made a metal album, it would have to be like artistic reimagining of the Predacons in Beast Wars. I could see something like that. The album art.
I made a metal EP before, not an full album. Actually, when I was a teenager, I was in in my late teens. I was in I was a vocalist of a death metal band, and uh, our shtick was we had lyrics about just the most like ordinary things.
Like getting groceries or checking the mail.
Yeah, like, like failing it. Like we had this one song that was about like failing a test at school. Like not really studying, like not really studying at all, but then like doing your best the night before, but then failing
This is
anyway.
the most like 2000s thing, like early 2000s thing I've ever heard.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, like in this band, like I was death growling, like I was doing this like harsh like death growl, but like what I was singing about wasn't like, violence, murder, gore, or anything like that. It was just about like failing tests. And
Nice.
yeah,
It's music's for fishes.
basically.
Oh geez.
Yeah, so Black Arachnia is all like, so this is where you've been hiding. I know what you're up to. You want to hijack the maximal stasis pod
Yeah,
yourself.
she's like, "Oh, I want to," and he's like, "Why would I?" And he's like trying to hide his porn, like cover his monitors.
Yeah, basically.
And she's like, "Oh, I see." And his cover is, I'm doing it really important research for Megatron. Yeah, that's it. You're not allowed to see." And she's like, "Oh, shut up. I want to help you."
Yeah.
And he's like, why would you want to help me? She calls him like, she says, "Cool your gears," tall, dark, and gruesome at one point, which I liked. I like that line. And the quid pro quo is like Megatron's a dummy and that she wants to lead. But
We're not quite there yet.
and oh right, she might mention that like much later. But
She does, yeah. We cut
I feel
to
like Tarantulas knows that because he just wants to do his science. He's never really cared about leading himself. Do you remember that one time when Pterosaur was on Juice and he's like, "Tarantulas, you're in charge for now."
Yeah.
And Scorponok was like, "Well, lead." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And he just like turns around and fucks off.
What does he mean, you command? I'm second in command.
I'm second in command.
So command. Then he
Oh,
turns
that's it.
and leaves.
Yeah, he's like, "So command," and he just like fucks off.
Yeah,
Um,
Tarantulas doesn't care about anything that either the Maximals or Predacons are doing. And he's a gross, like, creepy motherfucker, but like I kind of like just how out for himself he is.
Yeah, not only that, his goals are kind of above that of petty like faction wars.
Yeah.
As we will see at the end of this episode what his goal actually is here.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't to do what you'd think the obvious goal of this episode is. We'll talk about that when we get to the end. But in a way, like before we continue here, in a way, Tarantulas and Black Arachnia are actually a good team in a weird way. We shall see. As long as she gives Tarantulas what he wants, and he doesn't like get in her way, and he kind of is allowed to do his science, I think they can be beneficial for each other. We shall see.
Cheers.
We shall see. So
we cut to a forest, and Tigatron's walking around in beast form. And why does this forest look so fucking terrible?
What are you talking about? Oh, wow, there's some JPEGs going on.
Yeah,
I like how you know how this TV show likes to show like an animal multiple times, and it's like, ooh, I wonder what the new animal is. We get a
yeah.
fake out around like 3:16, 3:17 of like a poison dart frog like leaping on a tree branch. And I'm like, ooh, I wonder who the new Predacon's gonna be.
Yeah, the in these episodes there's always foreshadowing about the new what the beast form of the new character is going to be. But yeah, the
You don't
forest
like
in the
this
scene.
forest, huh?
No, it looks terrible.
I like how even the dirt on the ground is like just this big Wow, they didn't even fully finish rendering some of the trees. They're literally just yellow blocks that are disconnected from the ground.
Yeah.
I'm at 338 and like one of the trees is just a yellow line. It's like not even connecting to the ground floor.
Yeah.
Weird. Something didn't maybe. Oh, multiple trees. Wow, that whole forest looks like garbage.
Yeah. It looks awful.
The sky looks beautiful, the blue and red sky. But yep, that's some bad jungle, which is weird because the jungle in the episode where they were all blind,
looks great.
Maximals,
Yeah.
looked pretty great. Maybe we're being too harsh. I really like how like Tigatron is.
Yeah.
His eyes shift and his ears like twitch, and I don't know. I get a kick of watching him be a prowl all alone.
Mm.
And he tries to radio base, and he can't. So he's like, well, I guess I better get there before the pred heads do. And he wanders off.
And speaking of foreshadowing, what the beast form of the new character is going to be,
See another poison dart frog.
We see an anthill.
My money's on the poison dart frog.
I'll take that bet.
My pred credits. Man, those are some giant, nasty ass fucking looking army ants.
Yeah.
Those are like bullet ants. Those are like, bullet ants can sting you? Bullet ants have a fucking stinger?
Really? Actually, don't know what a bullet ant is.
Oh, you're welcome. Good for you. Bullet ants also don't well, all ants do this to some degree, but they bite, and the way that their mouth parts move is they saw. So instead of like pincher all ants are like this, but army ants and leaf cutting ants and bullet ants especially, they bite and then they saw, right? Like they move their jaw, like mouth parts left and right. And man, can you tell I watch a lot of ant videos on YouTube? A lot of gross ant videos. It's amazing how fast those things can eat something. Anyways, I watched a guy pick up like a bullet ant and like let it bite him. And
see, I thought you were just getting this from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
That makes me seem like ants are like adorable creatures that can be tamed and ridden. And then my heart will be ripped out when a fucking scorpion kills it. We should watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
And then when reality sets in.
Yeah. And then reality sets in and you're like, wait a second. The ant would devour those children without a second thought.
Yep.
It's a fucking ant. Its loyalty is to the hive.
The royalty.
Oh, sorry, not the hive. The colony.
Speaking of which, the Stasis Pod lands.
Very perfectly.
No
problems whatsoever.
Yes, this is the first time we've actually seen a Stasis Pod land without any problems.
Yeah,
Seems
wasn't knocked out of orbit. It's perfect.
Yeah, it wasn't knocked out of orbit. It entered the atmosphere
at a good angle and speed.
At a good angle, and it landed perfectly. Didn't crash. I'm thinking,
and then it gingerly lands with a hiss.
Yeah, I'm thinking. No problems here. We're gonna end up with a pretty strong and powerful and intelligent transformer.
Yes.
Because nothing went wrong.
Yes. Well, I have a theory about that, but we will get into it. So the arachnids arrive right after it scans for nearby life forms.
Yeah, the DNA sequencer
Already went off.
already went off. Just further emphasizing how smoothly this whole stasis pod business has been going.
Yeah, like for even though Black Arachnia and Tarantulas arrive there like within 60 seconds of it landing,
Yeah.
it sent off its like DNA sequencer like within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Which they didn't notice apparently. And Tarantulas goes, he opens some panels and he does some science. Taps some buttons, opens up the stasis pod, checks it out. For some reason, Black Arachnia like touches his like gigantic, like manly Tarantulas pecs, his chest. And she's all like, "Ooh, now that's the kind of sexy, smart spider boy I like."
No wonder Megatron wants to fuck you.
And then Tarantula Man is like, "Is that why you're helping me betray him?" Yeah, and she's like, "Well, Megatron's hot, but not as hot as you. Besides, I'd lead better."
Yeah.
And it's been obvious that she likes power, as all dominatrixes do. But
Yeah.
Tarantula seems like unconcerned. Like, hey, it's quid pro quo, right? Like, you help me do what I want, and you can do what you want.
Well, she calls him cute and puts her arms around him.
Oh,
that
and
seems,
like touches his chin.
Yeah, that seems to choke him up a little bit.
He like stares at her and she jumps off of him as if he's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it made
Like,
him kind of awkward.
Yeah, like instead of him going, ooh, okay, and being like putty in her hands, he kind of just like turns and stares at her.
You know, like any incel would. Like they
Well, you don't. Okay,
they
here, hold up. I need to. You don't need to be an incel to not be sexually harassed. Right, like it's
fair.
that's
Okay.
one of the tropes that are like, I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I know it's fun to make fun of Tarantulas, but like he hasn't said like no touchy, but she's been like very like touchy with him, and I feel like he hasn't reciprocated, and that's why I think he's not falling for her womanly charm.
See, what I was gonna say was like any good incel who often fantasizes about the touch of a female person and expresses desire for wanting that. When it's actually presented with them, they have no idea what to do with it.
Well, also Tarantulas is a nerd working on borrowed time.
Yeah.
Right? Like it feels like he's in a rush, and we find out that he kind of is because he wants to keep whatever he's doing secret.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, lady, I'd be fine with you being all up in my business, but like, time's a ticking.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to read Tarantulas, but I get the impression he's kind of like not down with her charms.
Down with her sickness.
He's not down with her sickness.
See, I was just trying to run with the whole Tarantulas as an incel thing, but okay.
Jeez, man. Way to get defensive and defend incels. But what I mean is, before we had talked about, like, you had said that, oh, it's completely out of character for her to be like so nice and trying to be helpful. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's out of character. I think she's just like trying to manipulate him, Tarantulas, like she manipulates the situation often. Do you remember when they were on the floating island, and she like over the radio, she's like, now is our time to shoot at the flyers and take the tower for ourselves. And she tricked Pterosaur into getting zapped by the obelisk.
Yep.
Yeah, she's manipulative, but I think Tarantulas isn't completely falling for it because he's been kind of like neutral about her advances. Anyways, I've already mentioned that. Onwards. Tarantulas does some weird hacking shit.
Yep. And he opens up a panel on the Stasis Pod, and we see like what looks like a little computer chip that has a Maximal insignia on it. And
You hear a whole bunch of people from Mainframe scream.
Game over.
Disgusting spiders win. Imagine if you're just chilling out in like Mainframe. I mean, I assume it's a program itself, not an actual physical chip. And you just see like a giant like face in the sky, and it's Tarantulas. And then one of his claws like come down and like pick you up and pluck you off of the motherboard.
Yep. Oh, excuse me.
And
Don't know what that was. Yeah, so
he replaces it with his own chip.
Yep.
And it's got a Predacon face.
Dun dun.
And the computer has a bunch of symbols on it, and it says, all right, searching for compatible life forms. But it already did that.
Yeah, it already did that. Tarantulas doesn't know that, though.
It's
so he
trolling him.
He brings up a cage that has another Black Widow spider. He's trying to make another Black Arachnia.
Like, literally. Isn't that weird? If I was Black Arachnia, I would turn to him and go, hey, isn't that weird? Like, can you imagine, like, fast forward, like, let's say Beast Wars went on for 5 years in this timeline, and the next 3 Predacons are just all like Black Arachnia clones. Maybe they're a little bit different. Like one of them has they have slightly different coloring. Maybe one of them has has even bigger metallic boobs. They're all just like variants of Black Arachnia. That would be weird.
One of them has small boobs but a big butt.
Oh, I'm down for that. I've replied to that too quickly. But like,
well, it would kind of be like in Transformers Generation 1, like, Starscream, but like he also had his cronies,
right,
Skywarp and Thundercracker, which looked exactly like him with just different color schemes.
They looked just like him?
Yeah. Because the toys were just redecos of that same mold. And even in the cartoon, like, they look just like Starscream, but with different colors.
Okay, but at least, so what you're saying is Beast Wars holds itself to a higher standard than G1.
Absolutely, in every conceivable way. Oh my god.
Christopher's very vocal about that.
I can't, as someone who has started rewatching through the original Transformers cartoon, I can't for the life of me understand how anyone would think that show is better than this one.
Shots fired.
And I say this as someone who grew up watching G1, which is why I was so stoked when Beast Wars came out. But
it's night and day.
It is almost Beast Wars.
That's not even an apt analogy. Yeah,
it is such a better written show.
And not to mention just the simple fact it's 3D, and you don't realize in G1 that a lot of it is just still frames with them talking back and forth, like a frame of Megatron, but the background is blue, and then a frame of someone else talking. Like it's very low budget.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah,
not Transformers the movie though. That they actually
that is
put
something
money into.
else. That is fucking wild. That is a wild ride.
Yeah.
And he's like, I will make. What does Tarantula say? Oh, it will be another one of us.
Yeah.
And Black Arachnia is like, tapping her foot, staring at him. And he's like, oh, but the pod's computer's already selected it. And she's like,
Shit.
you stop it?
And he's like, no.
Well, whatever it is, it will be a Predacon.
Yeah.
And then we get a scene of this is
Tigatron.
kind of hilarious.
Tigatron's hopping in this, like...
It's very weird. I didn't know tigers moved like that.
He's kind of moving like a ferret, honestly.
Yes, his back is like undulating.
Yeah.
And this is like the third or fourth time we have seen this. Waspinator chilling in a tree. But what makes this that funny, other than the fact it's happened multiple times, is that, keep in mind, he's based on, it says Waspinator. I think he looks more like a hornet. But hornets are like a couple inches long, and like Waspinator's gigantic, right? So the idea of this like 500-pound like wasp or hornet like chilling in a tree, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's like he doesn't understand what his beast mode like does. You know how they all have instincts? Like Cheetor wants to run around and Rhinox wants to smell the flowers, right?
Yeah.
I think something happened with Waspinator and he doesn't understand, and he thinks he's a monkey or something. Because he's always chilling in trees. But whenever we've seen him chilling in a tree, a Maximal happens to run by with important intel that he overhears, or he interrupts somebody's party. I'd like to point out that in this plane, in this field, there's not a single other tree in sight.
I was actually just thinking that it's a very, very barren field.
Yes.
Like there's nothing there. That's one hell of a clearing.
I like to think when Cheetor ran by a tree with Waspinator in it, or he was flying above it, I think it was actually the same tree as this, and he just likes this tree.
Maybe.
I like that Waspinator calls Tigatron Tigerbot.
Yep.
Repeatedly. And I'm like, good. He understands. I also like that he thinks he can actually he thinks he can take someone one-on-one. And well, he sure shows me, because he does.
Yeah, he
shoots him.
Yeah, he shoots Tigatron, and Tigatron goes flying into a rock.
The only rock in this field, and he bonks his head.
Yep. But
now,
then
Waspinator, say goodbye to Tigerbot. Oh!
But then Eraser shows up.
Our favorite bird mom.
Yep.
And she shoots him. And Waspinator goes flying and says, oh, I hate Birdbot. Or no, I remember Birdbot. And I'm like, oh, so precious. He remembers her.
Yeah, and she's all like, I'm flattered. And Waspinator targets her head and shoots off one of his stinger bullets.
Stinger missiles or whatever.
And
this is some big dick Dragon Ball Z energy going on here.
She's all super casual about it, looking at her nails and everything, and then just swats the bullet out of the way.
Yeah.
But I'm not impressed.
Yeah, but I'm not impressed. I half expected the mountain to explode. But yeah, she swats his missile away. And I'm like, holy shit. And she loads up her little wrist launchers.
Yep. And takes out Waspinator, and Waspinator
takes
crashes.
Out his wings.
Yeah.
She just shoots his wings.
He crashes headfirst into the ground. And
literally.
Yeah, literally. And his head is underground, and he's all groaning, and a little mouse is trying to pull at one of his antennae.
Yeah, it's a rat. And he's in, I guess he found its burrow or something like that, and his head slammed into it, and he's like, Waspinator hates bird bot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Waspinator understands our naming scheme.
He knows.
He knows. I feel like there's something between these two. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just their big aunt and big uncle energy.
Air Razor and Tigatron?
Yeah.
Maybe.
What's your opinion disregarding future episodes? Are you seeing that, or is
Totally.
it just yeah?
No. There's some chemistry between them.
There was the whole her riding on him when they were on the floating island, right? Yeah. There's something going on.
Yeah, the show is setting something up.
Yeah. And Tigatron explains what's going on. There's a Stasis Pod, and we gotta beat the Pred heads to it. And he said, "Go, I'll follow you." And as fast as she came, she flies off.
Well, she tries being all like, "Oh, but you might need backup," and he's like, "No, go. I prefer to hunt alone." Rawr.
Right. She's... That's the most apt Tigatron summary I've ever heard.
And she's all like, "Well, okay," and transforms and flies away. And Tigatron tries to leap away, but he's clearly hurt.
He's hurt, and then he says something I've never seen in the entire show.
Yeah, he says, "Begin internal repairs," which I thought their beast forms just did that automatically, but
I guess it has.
Yeah, it has. But this is more more dramatic.
Yeah.
It adds weight to the scene.
Yeah, that's it.
So we're back at the Stasis Pod, and shit's glowing.
It is glowing.
So bright that it blinds the Predacons. And then...
This is scary shit. The new Pred is huge.
Yeah, he's massive.
Huge.
We see these...
He's way bigger than the Stasis Pod he crawls out of.
Some giant... A giant fucking fire ant crawls out of this thing, just screeching and howling.
It's quite scary.
Yeah.
Scarier than the spiders, for sure.
I used to have the toy of Inferno when I was a kid, and the toy was fucking massive.
Oh, the toy was big too?
Yeah, the toy was a Mega Beast, so...
That explains it.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool toy. It was.
Is he almost like Megatron sized?
Megatron was an Ultra Beast. He was slightly smaller.
Okay. How about the show? So I think he's a little bit smaller than Megatron.
Yeah.
On the show, which still makes him one of the biggest.
I could be wrong, but I think as the show goes on, I think Inferno gets smaller.
That makes sense.
They're really making him look like a massive motherfucker in this episode.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think he gets smaller as the show goes on because I don't even remember him being this big.
Neither do I, but he's definitely gigantic in this, right?
Yeah,
he's twice as big as the Stasis Pod when he crawls out of it.
Yeah, and he's roaring and screeching.
I love Black Arachnia. She's like, "Ew, another insect. How depressing." And I'm like, yeah, agreed. The only thing worse would be another arachnid.
Another spider.
But we agreed to disagree. And I like how she turns to Tarantulas and she's like, are you sure it's a Predacon? Dude, look at it. That's not that's not a Maximal.
No. The thing has fucking pointed teeth and giant glowing red eyes. Of course it's not a Maximal.
Yeah, I like how... So Okay, so we had a problem here. Well, when we get to it, we get to it. Tarantula says, "I am your creator. Identify yourself." Presumably, his chip kind of reprogrammed him a bit. That's why he's saying, "I am your creator." Or that was an attempt to do so.
Yeah, Black. We didn't really talk about it, but Black Arachne mentioned, I think, back when we were in Tarantulas' lair, she mentioned that Tarantulas had planned to reprogram the protoform as a Predacon loyal to him.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, we skipped over some of that. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, so what if I? Oh, this is when he goes, and he like shakes his head, and he's like, so what are you going to do about it?" And he like gets up in her face, and she like gets it real up close to his face, and she's like, "Help you, of course."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Now, Kith." And he's like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like Tarantulas has now in hindsight, I realize that he was pretending that was his plan. That his real plan is yet to come. So that's why he was like, "Oh, you discovered my plan."
I'm sure that was part of his plan, but it wasn't
Not the most important part.
It wasn't the important part.
To be fair, pretty great plan. He's the driving force behind the entire plot of this.
Yeah.
And pretty good plan. Having a loyal like Predacon who, if there wasn't a problem with the ship, yeah, he could have like secretly been like more loyal to Tarantulas and helped him get the pod back. But we'll touch on that in a second, because surprise, surprise, he's crazy and his logic circuits are like fried, because he yells, "Spiders, you dare invade the colony!" And I'm like, yeah, that's what a spider would do.
Yep.
Spiders don't give a shit.
So he shoots at them.
Oh yeah, sorry. He says dramatic rock music plays, and he says Inferno, terrorize. And he looks rad. I have to say, he looks fucking rad. And he roars at them. Yeah.
Yeah. So he shoots at them.
His gun is rad. Looks like a gun you'd have in Devil May Cry. Sorry, go ahead.
And they go they go and hide, not behind a rock, but behind a tree.
Yeah, I like how they're still like 20 feet away and still clearly visible. But Inferno, after shooting them, they kind of go flying. He goes, "Ah, good," and he starts to like patrol like a soldier right in front of his pod.
Yeah, he's just marching back and forth.
They're 20 feet away, like they're still in shot. His tail is a little wild. He's got like some fat butt spinny thing going on.
Yep.
Like Dinobot's like tail like copter, but like, on his butt. I like how Black Arachnia calls him a 6-legged freak. And I'm like, when did that movie 8-Legged Freaks come out? Like 10 years after this? No, less than that.
No, like 2002.
It was early 2000s, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was 2002.
You have a good memory for that kind of thing. Let's see. Yeah, 2002.
Ha-ha.
And watching this just kind of made me chuckle, because she's like, "That 6-legged freak nearly roasted us." And I'm like, "You have 8 legs."
Well, maybe that's why
he's the freak.
Maybe that's why he's the freak, though, because he doesn't have 8 legs.
Whoa.
From her perspective.
Oh, so the normies. Well, what if he had 10? Would he be even like more godlike?
I'd still.
Or
be
is 8 the magic number?
Yeah. 8's the magic number because 8 is the number of legs that they have.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something deep.
No, not at all. When do I ever do that?
I thought you were going to make like a magic 8-ball joke or some sort of like gigabrains like meme. Well, hey,
nope.
man. spiders are like horrifying predators. Like if they were like human-sized, or if we were spider-sized, we would have gone extinct long ago.
I don't even want to think about that, so let's move on.
Oh yeah, probably a bad subject. Speaking of the movie Eight-Legged Freaks.
Yeah, these two eight-legged freaks basically are talking about the fact that Inferno's beast form is overriding his logic circuits. And Black Arachnia is all like, he thinks he's a real ant? Fucking idiot.
They converse. They come up to. This is what I mean by they're almost a good team. They actually converse like very quickly here. Like they're both intelligent enough that they can quickly get across information.
Yeah,
and that's something I have never ever seen with anyone on the Predacon side. Right? Like it's always like Scorponok being like, "Hey,
yeah,
wait a second."
Look at the rest of the Predacons, though.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why Megatron talks to himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And if the only other intelligent conversationalist is Tarantulas, I mean, maybe I'll just talk to myself anyway.
Yeah. So I have questions.
Yes. Okay. Continue. So you're going to talk about how his logic circuits are fried. Inferno, who is an ant, by the way, if we haven't mentioned, thinks that his single pod, the pod that is smaller than him, is his colony.
Yep.
And that because they're spiders, they're enemies of ants, that anybody who threatens it is his enemy. All right, continue. What are your questions the show will inevitably answer?
So this is the first time we've had a stasis pod land on the planet without any problems whatsoever.
Correct.
So what is wrong with Inferno?
Okay. Here's I only thought about this after second viewing.
Okay.
Tarantulas' Predacon chip fucked it up. Because they're maximal pods, right? And when you reprogram them, you run the risk because you're changing the OS, right? They're running Pred OS instead of Good Guy OS, and something effed up, and his logic circuits like didn't take. He's still like a Predacon, but he's we're gonna get into it. But if anyone's just listening to this and you know how we say like Waspinator isn't fully functional? I think Inferno is the least functional of all the Transformers we've seen on the show. He take Dinobot's aggression, but like dial that up to 11. But take like Waspinator's intelligence, but Cheetor's perseverance. You know, Cheetor just leaps into like situations and gets himself in trouble.
Yeah.
Because this guy is mega aggro. He doesn't seem to have any form of you know, live to fight another day kind of like mentality.
Yeah.
And I would say Waspinator's dumber than him, but it's impossible to tell.
Well, at this point, anyway. My only my only thought about your theory about Pred OS is Black Arachnia turned out fine.
Maybe. So is the problem is that he's dumb, or is the problem you have that he thinks he's an ant?
All of the above.
Okay, so
because like the problems that Tigatron has had were the result of the pod getting damaged.
Yes, and that was similar to what to what Inferno is going through now, where they identify more as their beast mode.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. But nothing went wrong with Inferno. So like why
So his logic circuits were damaged maybe because at the last second after the scan, Tarantulas switched the chip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was it was compiling the data.
The only thing that makes any kind of sense is that Tarantulas fuck something up.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going with that. And as for why he's like actually the dumbest thing we've ever seen, maybe that's just what the Maximal was like before. Like maybe like you know how we make fun of Cheetor for being like a student on his practicum? Maybe this was somebody who like what's it called when you like hitch a ride illegally?
Stowaway.
Maybe this is a stowaway.
See, I was going to be
like,
oh, maybe
ooh, I love spaceships. Time to go for a ride.
Maybe he was the Axelon janitor.
Oh, you know what? I'm going with that forever. That's canon. He's the Axelon janitor. I'm just happy to be here. Like super enthusiastic, super dutiful, really good at his job. But like outside of like mopping but here's the thing, most housemen are like, I don't know if you've ever worked at you probably have like janitorial and houseman like stuff at your workplace, but often
my first job was as a janitor. So.
Yeah, but basically you're like, oh, I can clean, but then you quickly find out that you do so much more than you're getting paid for.
Yep.
I don't feel like that's the case with with Inferno. I feel like you're like, Inferno, mop floor, section like 2-B, and he go, aye, Captain, mop floor, and he goes there with a broom and dustpan.
See, I was gonna say like, and then he goes and just like sets fire to it. For the royalty.
I have doused the water with gasoline, as requested. Oh, even before he had a beast mode, he said for the royalty.
Yep.
I like to think that too, that they were like very similar to the way they were now.
Yeah.
There's some weird like tension as like Tarantulas like mounts Black Arachnia.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird visual.
But basically he's like holding her back because she's like, oh, I'll just poison dart him and knock him out.
Yeah, and he's
like no, and he like pushes himself on her to stop her because they're both in spider form, and I'm like, I don't want to see two spiders mounting each other and like pushing their thoraxes against each other.
Yeah, I don't like that visual. I really don't. Like, it legit looks like they're gonna fuck. And like her like thorax is like bending against his.
Yeah, like the physics is actually like it's squishy, as if her like thorax is squishy.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not just me. Yeah.
No,
spiders are bad enough. I don't want to have to think that spiders actually mate.
I mean, I know that they do. I just don't want to think about the fact that happens.
Or see Black Arachnia's like squishy, huge spider donk. Speaking of, no, I got nothing. Air Razor, everybody's favorite bird mom is here.
But yeah, basically, Tarantulas is like, no, don't shoot it. You'll risk damaging the pod. And she's all like, oh, why do you care so much about the Stasis Pod anyway? And he's all like, well, that's not for you to know. So now...
And then he bites her neck and pins her down.
So now we know that Tarantulas has ulterior motives.
Okay, so we are at Air Razor, and she's like, objective in 3 nanoclicks. And the wiki says a nanoclick is approximately 1 second. So it's weird that she's talking to herself and saying that the objective is in 3 nanoclicks. Weird that she would say that when it's only 3 seconds away. But here we are, folks. Air Razor's flying in to save the day.
Yep. Looks like the new Maximal is online.
Yeah, I like how optimistic she is. She's like, yeah, the new Maximal's online, like you said. And it cuts to freaking Inferno with his nasty ass bug face. Yeah, he looks like a Maximal.
Yeah.
Just saying. And he's like, another invader comes from the air. And holy shit, he can fly for some reason. Because you know what can fly? Ants. There's another. We've been complaining about this episode. Why does he fly?
I don't know. Why does Optimus fly?
Because he's Optimus Primal. And he has gorilla jets. Optimus needs to fly. What's this guy's excuse? I like how Airazor meets him in the air, and she's like, as Cheetor would say, that flight mode is ultra gear. And I'm like, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I mean, to be fair, flying ants are a thing that exists.
That's true. When they're like breeders go out and before they like settle down and like find a new colony, they fly around. Yeah, that's true. But they usually lose their wings.
Flying ants feel like a mistake of nature to me.
Okay, so like I'm gonna try to keep this sidebar brief. The first like early fall or late summer, I was in my place, and the second and the third, and hell, even fast forward like 6, and then they just like the cat, they came back. There has been like, I don't know how to describe this, ant outbreaks, and I educated myself on ants thoroughly because I just looked over one time. Oh, that's weird. There's a flying ant, and smacked the flying ant, went back to playing Xbox Live, as I did back like 6-7 years ago. And there's another one. What the heck? And now this one's like flying and like landing on me. Ugh. And then I look over, and like a fluid pouring out of a hole, like on a sinking boat, like spewing out, are hundreds of winged ants.
Jesus.
Spewing out of this small like corner of where the molding like meets like a half wall in my living room, like a little hole. I completely freaked out, went and grabbed something like corrosive from under my sink. It wasn't like for bugs, it was like for cleaning ovens or some shit that totally shouldn't be used on wood, and like sprayed down the hole, covered it, like stuffed something in it, and just started spraying like the bugs and frantically like smacking them. And I'm not afraid of touching them and squishing them with my hands, but like, oh my god, now there's hundreds of flying fucking ants in the living room. Hundreds. Anyways, what happens is when a colony is doing very good and they have a lot of food, they have certain cycles. And what happens during this particular cycle is at the end of summer, maybe like early fall, they get a whole bunch of like winged ants. These are kind of like possible new queens, right? And some of the smaller ones have wings too. And I think, I might be wrong, the ones that have wings are both males and females, and they fly off to go start a new colony. Still part of the same colony. Like if they ever met, I think they'd have the same pheromones and they wouldn't fight. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But they fly off, and the males will follow the females. They'll land, and they will be like their guards / the ones that mate with the queen, right? So what they do is when these ones they eat and they get like nice and big and fat, the winged ones, all the drones in the colony grab all the ones with wings, like, because that's what the workers do, right? And they all at once, like they plan it all at once in one big signal, and they push them out. They forcibly grab them and with their mouth, and they push them out, like all at once. They go, get the fuck out of here. And then instinctually they go, oh shit, and they crawl around and they meet up with some males and like females, and they go, okay, let's go, and they peace out and they fly off. Really not good to have happen in your living room. Really fascinating subject. Yeah, so then in like the next summer after, I was expecting that. It skips a year every now and then. because it's almost handled. But basically, there's a huge colony underneath my apartment building, and sometimes they like erupt out of the hallway, like carpets, like whenever they reach critical mass, like that. And the hallway carpets, as in like to the apartment, not like the main hallways to the apartment complex, not my hallways. And there's only like one
Yeah,
or two
that's what I figured
spots.
you meant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's only one or two spots they come out of if they do come out, and it's never as bad as that first year. But man, it is, you enter a panic when you're like, oh, what the heck? I can see one, because you know, maybe not that night, maybe when you're not looking, maybe when you're at work or something like that, like dozens are gonna spill out unless
Maybe
you like plug the hole that they're coming through.
maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday.
But someday. Anyways, that's my horror story about ants.
That was horrifying.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
Speaking of ants, so Inferno is able to take flight because his ant thorax that sits, well,
his
hanging
butt.
off of his butt, yeah. It splits open into 4 quarters, which kind of look like propellers.
Yeah, and then there's jets.
Yeah, and then there's a jet, like
It's
right in the
awkward.
middle. Yeah, it's kind of weird looking. It is exactly what the toy looked like, though. So, props to the animators.
AirRaiser stops midair, and she's like, "As Cheetor would say, that flight mode is ultra gear," and she gives him a thumbs up. And I'm like, that is such a mom thing.
I was
Okay.
I was just gonna say. I'm like,
As
wow.
the youth say, that flight mode is ultra gear, and I'm like, you tried.
Yeah,
And she's like, "Hi, I'm AirRaiser," and he's like, "Blah, blah, 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 defender of the colony, you're invader." Nine, 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 nine. And she's like, "Wait a second."
and then Black
Not even-
Arachnia. Black Arachnia is all like, "Out of the way, bitch!" Transforms and shoots one of her, like grapple arrow missile things at her, and blows her out of the sky, and then steps on her, and she's all like, "For the colony!"
Oh, I forgot. She like steps on her. She likes stepping on people.
Yeah. She's all like, "For the colony!" And Inferno zips by and is all like, "You're not of the colony. What's wrong with, like, what?"
Yeah, he's like,
And
you not ant."
yeah,
And she's like, "Actually, I'm a personal friend of your mom's."
yeah, I'm a personal friend of the
so I
royalty.
am an ant. And she's like, "So why don't we talk now?"
Yeah, and Tarantulas is over at the Stasis Pod, and
Being a sneaky fucker.
he's affixing what is essentially a trailer hitch
This
to
is
it.
so gross. He like grunts and like trembles, and his eyes like flit open and closed as if he's like coming his brains out.
Yeah, and he
And he
shits
grunts.
he shits a big glob of web onto this trailer hitch.
So I can't tell if that was painful or pleasurable, but yeah, he grabs it with some webbing out of his spinneret.
Yeah, and so he starts he fucks off and drags the pod away.
As
And
Inferno lands
as he says, keep talking while I secure the real prize.
suckers.
So.
And Inferno lands down beside the downed AirRaiser and Black Arachne, and he's huge. His gun is as big as Black Arachnia.
Yeah. Oh, and Tarantulas also says, "At last, I have the means to escape this dirtball."
Coincidence?
So we're getting. Tarantulas has a plan here.
He's a tarantula man with a plan, eh?
Yep.
And yeah, it shows frickin' Inferno. Okay, hold up. They have said by the Inferno multiple times. Why did they name one? Why is there one named Inferno? Would that be like taking the name Hell?
Because he's a fire ant.
But like they use that as a term, so it'd be like naming like yourself Hell.
Presumably on Cybertron, he was a fire truck.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, I know. I get your point.
I know, I like that. I'm gonna go with that. It's ironic, right? To name a fire truck Inferno
Yeah,
because they put out fires. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. um. Yeah. So he's like, "Ooh, body feel tingly," and
yeah.
Black Arachnia is
He's
like,
all
"Yeah,
shorting out.
you've been in robot form too long, dude. Transform." And he doesn't get it because he's dumb.
Yeah.
Me no understand. And Black Arachnia is like, "You Predacon like me."
We conquer, we rule. It destiny.
Yeah.
Uh,
And he's like, "No, fuck you. Only the royalty rules. Me, soldier, defend." And he like looks around and he goes, "The colony." And like Black Arachnia has some like trippy cyberpunk fucking eyes. And she like, this is funny, her eyes go nuts as if she's scanning, but then it just shows like 30 feet away. Like there's nothing special. I don't know why she's seeing in black and white vision, like presumably some sort of infrared.
yeah, like
But
thermal
he's
vision.
like 30 feet away.
Yeah. And Inferno
And yeah,
transforms and is all like, the colony! His ant form is fucking huge.
that's what I mean. Huge. Like his head is as big as Black Arachnia. And I
Yeah.
think you're right. He is not that big as the show progresses.
Yeah.
It is very weird that he's that large. And
Also, I
yeah,
would
go ahead.
I would like to point out just real quick, the guy who voices Inferno, his name's Jim Burns.
Oh.
He's a notable character actor. He's American, but he's lived in Canada, I think, since like the 70s. I actually met him once.
What's his name?
Jim Burns.
Okay, you met him?
Yeah, I actually met him once. I ran into him at a gas station in Nanaimo, British Columbia.
Amazing.
And the reason why I knew it was him, why I recognized him, was because he starred in the live action Highlander TV show as the character Joe Dawson, and I was really into the Highlander TV show when I was a kid as well.
Dude with the ponytail, right?
Well, that was
Well,
Duncan MacLeod.
I was going to say yes. Wait a second.
Yeah. No, Joe Dawson was
Oh no, I meant just the TV show had the dude with the ponytail.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I stopped and thought, and I'm like, wait a second.
Don MacLeod of the
Everyone
Clan
had a
MacLeod.
ponytail. Yeah, everyone had a ponytail back then, so that's not really narrowing it down.
Yeah, including me.
Including me right now.
I'm actually thinking of growing my hair out long again.
Oh shit. Yeah, then we can truly be 90s kids.
Yeah.
Then we'll have yeah.
But yeah, I met Jim Burns randomly at a gas station.
And you were just like, "Hey, big fan."
Yeah, pretty much.
And he was like, "Oh, cool." How did he react? Was he like, "Oh, cool," surprised you recognize me, or was he like kind of just, "Hey, how's it going?"
I was like, "Oh, hey, are you Jim Burns?" And one of the reasons, like, how I caught on was because of the way he walked. Because the actor actually doesn't have legs.
Okay.
He lost them in a car accident like decades ago. So he walks on artificial legs. So he walks kind of awkwardly.
Right.
And like I saw that from watching Highlander, and so seeing him in person, like kind of recognizing him, and also like just recognizing the way he walked, I was like, oh, that's got to be Jim Burns. And I was like, oh, hey, are you Jim Burns? And he's like, oh, yeah. I was like, oh, hey, yeah, big fan. Really liked you in Highlander, and really liked you in Beast Wars as the voice of Inferno. And he was just like, oh, thanks. That's not one that a lot of people mentioned to me.
Oh, that's the thing. So listeners, Christopher and I have complained about the episode. There's nothing wrong with Inferno himself. It's an interesting character. He's dumb, right? But like the voice acting is great, and I'm fine with a super aggro, like aggressive like character. You need somebody beside Pterosaur to blow up every episode.
Yeah. And indeed, another character other than Terror. Actually, Pterosaur isn't even in this episode.
Oh.
Now that I think about it. Yeah, he's not in it at all.
No, he's not. Yeah,
I don't
speaking of,
I don't think Cheetor is in this episode either, or Rat Trap.
Or Dinobot.
Or Dinobot, yeah.
Huh.
Oh, well.
And, to get back in the swing of it, Tigatron finds Airraiser. Good thing they didn't finish her off. And she's injured, and she talks to Tigatron, tells him that they took the pod, and Tigatron's like, okay, well, I'll track him and I'll go after it. Maybe I can retrieve it. You go back to base, tell Optimus I might need backup. And she's like, oh, but, and then he is just like, no, I hunt better alone.
And then she's all like, or sometimes you can be two alone.
That's some Gigabrain comment. That's some motivational like mom post.
Mom or something more.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my favorite fucking scene. This brings such joy. So
look at the size of the spyglass that he has. It's like as big as his torso.
Okay, so listeners, it immediately cuts to somewhere near the dark side. And there's literally
I have found
nest.
the show art for this episode, ladies and gentlemen.
It's literally the crow's nest, as in there's a skinny little pole. No discernible way how. By the way, Scorponok got up here. There's no ladder or anything. Scorponok can't fly, but there's a little platform at the very top with just enough to fit maybe one or two Predacons in it. And there's a Scorponok is hanging out here, and there's a comically large spyglass, but it's mounted like the ones that are near docks that you have to kind of pay for.
Yeah.
And he's just chilling out playing pirate, looking through it. But here's the thing. It only seems to see as far as he does, but the ship's scanners have picked up Maximals over a dozen kilometers away. So what is he doing out here? Christopher, convince me he's not playing pirate.
So, okay, so my counterpoint to this is maybe the ship's power is still out, so their long-range sensors aren't working.
That makes sense.
So Scorponok finally has an opportunity to play pirate like he's always wanted to, and go get out the spyglass and have to look around for Maximals.
That's so bizarre. I imagine he's like, oh, all of our scanners are offline, and Megatron turns to Scorponok, and Scorponok face lights up, and he's like, Megatron, you mean? And then Megatron sighs and goes, yes, you can play pirate. Yay! Avast, matey! Who goes there? Can you, if it's not extra work, Photoshop an eye patch onto?
I think I think he'll be too small.
Yeah, he'll
be noticeable.
Be too small.
Yeah.
Fuck, that is so dumb. And then, anyways, he sees Tarantulas hauling the Stasis. Fuck, this is. See,
yeah, my favorite line in this entire episode.
Okay, so
I think this actually might be one of my favorite lines. It's definitely my favorite thing Scorponok has ever said.
It's up there because, so anyone listening, unless this is your first time listening, I like to make fun of Scorponok, and I act like he's not fully functional, and I act like he's about 10 when I'm doing my impressions. They're not that far off from the actual Scorponok, but then it started showing him making cyber bees and being a scientist and stuff, and I'm like, okay, whatever. No, I'm going full back 10-year-old, Scorponok is just like playing pirate here, because he looks through his fucking spyglass as Megatron's trying to reboot one of the ship's computers.
And Megatron gets comically mad because the computer shorts out, and he's all like, oh, where is Tarantulas? This is his
gestures.
job. And he like does like a hand gesture at the computer.
I love his hand gesture. It's like a stock like footage of like an old person like pointing at their monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, you were like, what does he say?
He's Blast! Where is Tarantulas? This is his job.
Fuck. And like you said, he's comically gesturing at it. Like, fuck. And the funny thing is, I'm like, oh, okay, so Tarantulas is the IT guy.
Yep.
Well, he doesn't know this, but like, he's the one that caused this shit.
So he gets Scorponok radios in and is all like, Scorponok to Megatron, and Megatron's all like, report. And
Can I? Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
My
He's
favorite
like,
line.
He's like, Megatron, Tarantulas is coming, and something's chasing him. And so it cuts to Megatron looking through, presumably a feed of Tarantulas's. So, by the way, if you're thinking, oh, well, he sees it from so far away, it's easy to mistake that. No, because it shows us a feed.
It's the feed of Scorponok's spyglass.
And it's very clearly, without question, in high like definition, Tarantulas towing a Stasis Pod. And Megatron, with a weird, puzzled, disappointed grimace on his face, turns to the camera as if completely just befuddled, but also ignoring Scorponok's idiotic statement. Because he immediately goes, a Stasis Pod. So, Scorponok, come on. You invented cyber bees.
Oh, God.
So that scurrilous spider's up to his old tricks again.
Megatron! Tarantulas is coming, and something's chasing him.
And something's chasing him! That is one of the few lines that redeem this episode. I think that might be my favorite. Yeah, one of my favorite Scorponok lines.
Yeah, that's my that is my favorite Scorponok line as is. And what I mean by that is like there are a lot of
context.
There are a lot of lines that of various characters in this show that we'll like kind of run with and make our own things out of.
We don't even need to run with that.
No.
He's literally playing pirate, and that's what he literally says. Like, word for word.
Tarantulas is coming, and something's chasing him. As Tarantulas is clearly just towing a fucking Stasis Pod.
And Megatron immediately notices. Ignores what the hell Scorponok said.
Yep.
And goes, a Stasis Pod? That little fucker is up to something. Yes.
Yeah, basically.
I imagine Scorponok being up in the crow's nest, and he waves at Tarantulas, and Tarantulas is like, and looks worried, and he goes, "Run, Tarantulas, you can do it!" And Tarantulas is like, what? And he just waves back, and then Scorponok's like, "Ahoy, matey!" Tarantulas is like, "Sure, dude." And just keeps going about his business. But he can't go about his business because apparently the ant is faster than him, which makes sense because ants are creepy and fast. And gigantic.
Well, spiders are creepy and fast as
That's
well.
a good point. The computer in the dark side pipes up. One of the monitors in front of Megatron is just static now. But the other one says, reading Predacon energy signature.
Yeah.
But no such units listed in our database. And Megatron's like, strange.
New Predacon. Yes.
I like it. Man, this fucking praise the royalty! I found it. And then a little tiny spider jumps onto it. And he's like a sixth as big as Tarantulas is like a sixth as big as Inferno seems to be. And I'm like, uh-oh. This isn't going to end well. Except
Yep.
that it does, because as Tarantulas like transforms, he just shoots a net,
Yep.
those like energy webs, and pins him to a rock.
Yeah, he webs them up.
Yeah. But then Scorponok is there, and he's like, "Hey, Megatron says bring that pod to him at once. It wasn't chasing you."
Megatron has ordered this pod brought to him at once.
And then, a really cool, realistic explosion blows the stasis pod up. And slow-mo sends Tarantulas and Scorponok flying. And then it's a Looney Tunes moment.
The way Scorponok goes flying is kind of funny, because he just, he kind of just goes straight back.
Yeah. It's very cartoon explosion.
He hits a rock.
Rock has
And
another rock on top of it.
And then another rock that was on top of that rock falls onto his head.
That's a running like Predacon bit now. Rocks falling onto their heads.
There's a lot of rock-based
Humor.
gags
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
show. And lots of rock music, too.
That's true.
Yep.
And Tarantulas
coincidence? I think so.
I think so.
I think not. No.
So there's two people that are disappointed that the stasis pod has been blown up.
For vastly different reasons.
Very different reasons. Tarantula screams no, but someone else screams no more so. Inferno. And then, who was it? It was Tigerbot.
With his tummy gun.
And he's like, "You won't be getting any of our secrets." I don't know why he was Irish there. You won't be getting any of our secrets. You dirty preds.
And
that sounded weird saying that.
And Scorponok is all like, "Arr, avast, ye tiger!
Avast, ye tiger! Have ye come for our loot? Our booty?
You
Speaking of booty,
you scurvy kitty!
you scurvy dog!" And he's like, "I am no dog." And speaking of booty,
Lady Arachnia shows up,
like stealth mode, and karate chops Tigerbot in the back of the neck, sending him flying off the little hill he's on.
Yeah.
And she says something clever. She says, "And you won't be getting any older, Stripes."
Yeah, and Tarantulas starts like machine gun leg, like using his like little spider-like machine
finally
guns.
hitting somebody with that.
Yeah, and Tigatron's getting shot to shit.
Well, that's the time you want to use those like spider machine guns, like right up close like that.
And
he's fucked. He's in a bad position here.
Yeah, and then Megatron shows up in his beast form,
roaring.
And like he stomps in and roars, and like the camera like shakes as he moves around.
It's scary.
It is, in for what is otherwise kind of a stupid fucking episode. It's
rad, yeah. He shows up and roars.
Why is Megatron why in this episode are we getting like a very bestial, like scary Megatron?
Badass, scary Megatron instead of jovial, like, "I'll get you next time," Megatron.
Yeah.
So Tigerbot, holy shit, kind of not in a great position, and it only gets worse like second to second. Like Black Arachnia chops him in the neck. Tarantulas like shoots him like the fuck up, like he's injured. Like there's like scrapes and like slashes all over his body. Megatron shows up, and what does he say here?
He transforms, and
oh my god,
the Predacons fuck off.
This is dumb.
They're intimidated, and he's all
this is really dumb.
Playtime's
the
over,
spiders,
pussycat.
Yeah,
cheers.
The spiders fuck off. Why?
Well, because they know that they've pissed off Megatron.
But why? They just reprogrammed a Predacon for him. It's like when you and your cousins are playing in the backyard and your aunt like calls you into the house, but it's not dinner time, and you just assume that you're in trouble because you know you did something wrong.
Yeah. I was going to bring up. I was gonna bring that up. Like basically,
Megatron,
like they're scared because they knew that they were working against
yes,
him.
but technically he doesn't know they've done anything wrong. So I find
He suspects it though.
yes, as is evidenced with something he says later.
Hmm.
But like they peace out for no reason other than just like you know when you like run away, you're like, oh shit. Like my aunt or like my mom or my grandma's like pissed off and you like run, but you have to come home. That's what they're
Yeah.
kind of doing. They're like, oh fuck. And both Black Arachnia and Tarantulas like peace out. They just get the fuck out of there. Which good thing for uh Tigatron. But not so good because, well, playtime's over, pussycat. Yes. I like how defiant he is. Tigatron says, who's the first to sample my bite? And I'm like, dude, you're like barely holding yourself up.
Yeah, I appreciate that level of bravado. So
Level of
Inferno,
defiance.
Inferno is basically all like, oh, whoever destroyed the colony will burn, and he gets all mad and transforms and breaks out of the webbing and flies into the air, screaming like a madman.
Screaming like a maniac. Wah!
And Megatron's all like, "Ooh, I like him. Yes."
I mean, yeah.
And Inferno's all like, who destroyed the colony? And Megatron
Ooh.
capitalizes on this and is all like, he is the one, the Maximal. And Inferno is like, well, fuck you, Maximal, and fuck every other Maximal too. You notice Tigatron here, his tiger face has a black eye.
What? Oh, it kind of does, eh?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, like it's black and it's swollen shut.
Oh, it's even swollen shut?
It is, yeah.
Oh, shit. Wow,
It's a
that is a
neat,
really good catch.
yeah, it's a neat little detail.
Huh. Wow, that is really good catch. There's only like less than a few frames that it's up close.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, okay, I can kind of see now. So what the heck? So Inferno flies over to finish off Tigatron, like standing right over top of him, and he's like, "You will burn." And then a missile comes out of nowhere and
And
hits
blows him
Inferno.
into several pieces.
Many, like completely blows him up. Like his head is intact and then all the limbs, but he's just chunks. Completely doesn't hurt Tigatron.
Yeah. And then we see that it is Optimus super aping through the air.
What
And
did he
it's one.
shoot him with?
He shot him with one of his shoulder missiles that we've seen him use before, but not ever to the effect that they just straight up blow someone apart with one hit. And indeed,
Yeah,
he shoots another one at Megatron,
but
and
he
it doesn't
blocks
blow.
it. Or kind of.
Yeah, it doesn't blow him up. It blows a
Oh,
hole
his
in his
torso's
stomach.
fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he takes him out with one shot.
And so when I was watching this earlier, I'm like, dude, why aren't you using these missiles on literally everyone all the time?
Yes.
Like,
Right? It can almost take out Megatron, and it can completely take out Inferno. Like,
yeah.
bro, like you guys need to start using these missiles.
Yeah, shoot everyone with them all the time.
So, Air Razor, because Cheetor's missing from this episode, she tries to use Cheetor lines, which I find of endearing. I find like kind of heartwarming. And she's like, "Oh, what does she say?" She says some corny shit. Time to hit the wind.
Yeah, something like that.
And so Optimus super apes away, holding Tigatron.
Yeah. Well, and
The show has
Tigatron's like, that's another of my 9 lives I owe Air Razor.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And here, okay, bro, the show has told us multiple times that the only one light enough for Optimus to carry in his like robot form
It's a
is Rat Trap. But he picks up Tigatron and flies away quite comfortably with him.
Yep.
Okay, show, whatever. Anyways, moving
Different writers.
The thing is, that's like the 8th like problem we had with the episode, so I'm not even surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Megatron like in like great futility, just like angry, like shoots his purple laser at him at the flying duo multiple times.
His mouth laser.
Yeah. And Scorponok's like, they're out of range, Megatron. Kind of like as if you're talking to somebody who's embarrassing themselves.
Yeah,
And
which is kind of what Megatron's doing here.
Like throwing a laser tantrum.
Yeah.
And he throws Inferno's head at him. And he's like, put him back together and find me those spiders. I want a few words with them.
Yeah, and Inferno's sever head just keeps repeating in a distorted voice, defend the colony.
Defend the colony. Defend the colony. Defend the colony.
And Scorponok like smacks it so it shuts up. And then we're back at the Axelon.
It's snowing apparently.
Yeah.
That's
Because
kind of
Tigatron's there.
Oh.
He brought his snow biome with him.
Jesus Christ. He brought the taiga with him.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
He brings the taiga every Saturday night, man.
That's what they call my pad. The taiga pad. I got nothing. Hey girl, you want to come to my place and play Minecraft? I can show you all the biomes. Waka 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 waka. I make myself laugh, and that's the important part.
You ever ride the tiger? Would you like to? Just hop on my back, baby, and we'll ride the night away. That's all I got.
That's all we need, man.
That and probably some ganja.
Yeah. This tiger prefers to prowl alone.
I get that vibe. I get that vibe from Tigatron.
I'm hunting for cougars. And he winks at the camera.
Oh, man.
Well, it's been established he's into older women, assuming that Airazor's the mom of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. He feels like he's a divorced uncle, right? Like he can get younger girlfriends, but like it's not really his thing. Stays in shape. Prefers like he probably has a motorcycle. Looking for something real, Anyways, it's snowing at the Axelon.
Yeah, and
they're inside.
Yeah, they're inside. The CR chamber opens, and a fully restored Tigatron is all there. And
he's like, "Yeah, well, I gotta go later."
Yeah, Optimus makes a point of saying Dinobot, Cheetor, and Rat Trap are all patrolling your zone to, explain their absence in this episode, I guess. And he's like, so you don't need to rush out. You can stay a while and chill, and rest up. And Tigatron's like, nah, man, I gotta head for the highway and hit the old dusty trail.
Yeah. He prefers to prowl alone.
Yep. And yeah, he prefers the wildlands, and Optimus is like, well, you do you, bro.
And then they high five, and
Airazor is like, Well, it wouldn't hurt if you come and visit us sometimes, asshole.
And like Tigatron likes AirRaiser, but like AirRaiser has 2 kids, and that's a lot to get involved with. So we'll see how that goes.
He's all like, look, babe, you're cool, but I need my space,
I prowl alone.
I need my my wide open spaces.
I like my borings. Taiga biome. And then we cut back to another base, a spider base. They're probably hiding, waiting for Megatron to not be angry.
Yeah, probably. In fact, Black Arachnia is lamenting about the fact that Megatron is going to scrap them for this. And Tarantulas is like, fuck that guy. He doesn't know shit.
Yeah, he's like, Megatron does not see the webs within the webs.
Yeah.
And then I heard like the Inception horn.
Bwong.
Bwong.
And Black Arachnia is like, don't be so testy. We're 2 of a kind. We should stick together. And Tarantulas is like, it would make no difference if we did. This planet is doomed.
Doomed.
Dun dun. And she's like, so that's why you wanted the Stasis Pod, to build an escape ship.
Yeah. She's like, but how? Why? You have to tell me everything. I can help.
And he's
just,
like, he just laughs and is like, get the fuck out, bitch.
He's like, look, we like angry fucked like just now, but you gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Time to go, lady.
Yeah.
And then
he has graduated into a real man now.
And then she calls him a lunatic under her breath, and he calls her a witch, and then laughs.
Oh, I love
maniacally.
That. I think they kind of whisper it, but like loud enough that they hear.
Oh, totally, yeah.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, he is a lunatic. Oh, and speaking of lunatic, he like cackles madly as the camera zooms out and the episode ends.
Yeah, like I said, he laughs maniacally after calling her a witch. And that's the episode.
Christopher, any final thoughts before we give it our too much Energon rating?
So I do want to point out, since in particular, since the Trigger Part 1 and 2, it's become very clear that the show is building towards something.
Mm-hmm.
And not to give away spoilers or anything, but there are some stuff that's alluded to in this episode that may be on the test later. I've decided that's how I'm going to start phrasing it. Is remember this because it may be on the test later.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's a good way of doing it.
So I like that. In a way, this episode was actually pretty important because 1, it introduced a new character in Inferno, and 2, it kind of helps lay the groundwork for what goes on later in the season.
Yes, but it's only delivered in Tarantulas' dialogue, which means it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but like it only takes 10 seconds to convey that episode. Convey that info.
Not just that though, and I won't go into it, but there is more in this episode that relates to stuff that happens later.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess we will see then.
Yep, we'll find out when we get there.
There are good parts. I if we can make fun of something because it's dumb and it makes us like laugh, then like mission accomplished. Also, even though he flies and he's like kind of weird, like I think his design is good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But the thing is, it's like did we need another episode where we get to know Tarantulas and Black Arachnia more? I would say no. But like you said, it's establishing plot.
Yeah, this episode does lay some groundwork for stuff to come in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So for that, I kind of appreciate it. On the too much Energon scale, where we rate episodes on a scale of not enough Energon, which is anything from a terrible episode to something that's just not that great, to sufficient Energon, which is something that's just to,
That's okay.
it's okay, fairly decent. Or too much Energon, which can be anything from, actually a pretty good episode or the best episode ever. Cal, where do you rate this episode?
Sufficient amount of Energon for the royalty.
Yeah, I'm giving it a kind of middle of the
maximal try.
I'm giving it kind of a middle of the road sufficient amount of Energon. This is an important episode, and it does genuinely have some great bits, particularly Pirate Scorponok.
Do 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 do. Now that's a crossover I want to see.
I wish that had happened.
Right?
Dreams. So that has been episode 20 in production order of Beast Wars. This is the part where I would say we'll be back next week with the next episode, but we're gonna take a kind of sort of hiatus, but not really. If you're not listening to this in real time with us and you're discovering this show down the road, we're just a few weeks out from Christmas and New Year's. And this year, those holidays are falling on when we normally do our recording time.
Yeah.
We've also decided that we are, over the course of the next couple of weeks, are going to go back and re-record our first couple of episodes that are marred with some serious production problems. So if you're listening to this with us in real time, we'll be back next week with a re-recorded version of Beast Wars Part 1 and 2. Keep an eye out for that.
And if you're like a listener that's been listening to us, you probably know that our highest quality isn't like the first episode or like so. So if you skipped it and you stuck with us, like despite that, go and re-listen to it. It's going to be way better. Done. Yeah.
It's going to be way, way better. Best way to support the show is if you are listening to this on Apple Podcast or iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. Also, tell your friends about us.
Yeah.
The holidays are coming up, and what better Christmas gift than giving your friends and loved ones the gift of me and Cal talking about Beast Wars, Transformers.
Can you think of a better one? I can't.
No. And I challenge any listener out there to come up with something better. Regardless.
Hey mom, I know that you wanted like that like house robe for like Christmas, but like, like it's like COVID times, and these guys said that they're the gift that keeps giving, and like, remember that show I really liked, that by the Reboot guys? It's them. So here you go, Mom. Did you just write a link down and put it inside of a gift? Yeah. Love you, Mom. Okay, bye. I'm gonna go play Black Ops.
Oh man. Oh. It's not even the full length. Link. Blah. It's not even the full link either. It's just like toomuchenergon.ca.
Which, by the way,
which is our website. You can go to www.toomuchenergon.ca. It's a terrible website, but it's
pretty great.
It's
if you miss
serviceable.
GeoCities or you weren't alive for GeoCities.
Blast from the past. At
It truly
toomuchenergon.ca, you can find embedded players for every single episode of this show and social media links.
Yeah, so if you don't subscribe to anything, or your Spotify or whatever is, or your YouTube like premium is like running out, you can just play it for free on the website.
Yeah. Do the thing.
Do the thing. Speaking of doing things, we are out of time, I think. Yeah, we're out of time.
So, I have been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I am your other host, NeoCal.
And until next week, Beast Mode.
Beast Mode.
Beast Mode! Beast Mode!
I hope that Inferno calls Megatron his queen.
You hope that, eh?
Yeah, I vaguely recall something like that.